When the Sega Genesis was released to the American market in 1989, it had a video game controller that looked a lot like this. In fact, this is it. The amazing Sega Genesis controller. And how do you go wrong with this thing? Just look at it. First of all, note how it just fits into your hand perfectly. Nice and smooth. The buttons have a very easy layout to play, and they're also kind of curved in there. Clearly labeled A, B, and C. And your thumb can sit down inside of them to get easy grip. Like how it's in a sort of a little recessed pocket or whatever you want to call it here. The digital pad is incredible, has a slight texture on it. Something Microsoft could have learned from when they made their Xbox controller. Their 360 controller. Easy to push what direction you need to go. It's got a little hole in there, so you get good grip. You can play for hours and hours with this thing, and it never gets tiresome, never gets old. And just overall, the mechanics on it are very good too. The way the buttons push and bounce back. Solid controller, and I love the Sega Genesis logo. Again, with that nice textured surface. Stella, video game dog, would you rather have this Sega Genesis controller? Or would you rather have this milk cook? I swear to God, I'm going to trade you in for a cat. The thing with the Sega Genesis controller is that the Sega Genesis was marketed towards a slightly older audience at the time that Nintendo had complete dominance over the video game market. And you can tell that by looking at the size of it. That's the Nintendo controller, which is a pretty good controller. But look how much bigger the Sega Genesis is, the Sega Genesis controller. And that's because older kids had bigger hands. And I was a young teenager when I got my first Genesis, and immediately I loved the game system, and the controller is one of my favorite regular video game controllers. On the back of the controller it says Sega. Note how it has a little recessed spot here for your fingers to sit into. Very easy to grip, very easy to hold. Love the curves here that fit into the palms of your hand. This just pretty much rocks. Even the PlayStation controller is not as good as the Sega Genesis controller.
And to top it all off, you can play the Atari 2600 and 7800 with a Sega Genesis controller. That's called versatility.
Stella, you missed a piece right there. Yep. There you go. That's good. Slobber all over it. That'll make it easier to play.